You've felt it, haven't you? That look people give you when you say no to yet another party. That pause in the air when you walk into a room and don't immediately start performing like everyone else. That tiny shift, the way their smiles twitch, the energy dips, when you admit you spent the weekend alone and enjoyed it. What happens when a man no longer needs the crowd? When silence becomes his strength? When solitude isn't punishment but a choice, a weapon? I'll tell you what happens. Society doesn't clap for him. Society doesn't cheer him on. Society despises him. Carl Jung, the man who tore open the dark corners of the human mind, understood this better than anyone. He knew the truth people don't want to hear. A man who genuinely loves being alone isn't just different. He's dangerous. Dangerous to the entire system. Dangerous to the fragile illusions society depends on to keep everyone marching in line. And the question is, dangerous how? Why does a man's quiet refusal to play along ignite so much fear, resentment, and hatred in the people around him? The answer isn't pretty. In fact, it might disturb you. Picture this, it's Friday night. The city is alive, bars spilling over with laughter, parties buzzing, phones lighting up with endless noise. And then there's a man sitting at home, not sulking, not pouting, just content. He's reading, thinking, creating, breathing in the silence. He's not scrolling through his phone, secretly jealous of the people outside. He's not craving their attention. He's not missing a damn thing. And when others realize this, when they see him perfectly fine without their circus, it unsettles them. It scares them. Why? Because that man holds up a mirror, and in that mirror they see the very thing they've been running from their entire lives, themselves. Jung said something most people will never forgive him for. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. And that's the problem, isn't it? Most people don't want to wake up. They'd rather live half asleep, numbed by noise, distracted by the endless performance of life. Because if they ever sat down in silence, if they ever had to face themselves, they'd see what's really hiding there, the unconscious, the shadow, all the desires they've buried, all the fears they've denied, all the truths they've locked away because they were too ugly, too shameful, too dangerous to admit. Most people are terrified of that place. They drown it out with chatter. They bury it under cheap entertainment. They fill their heads with other people's opinions because they can't stand the sound of their own thoughts. But the man who loves solitude, he's already been there. He's walked through that personal hell. He's stared at his own demons and kept walking. And that's why his presence unsettles people. It's not that he says anything. It's not that he does anything. His very existence is a silent accusation. If I can face my shadow, why can't you? You've seen it, haven't you? The way conversations twist when you mention you spent the weekend alone. The way people laugh, not because it's funny, but because it's nervous, defensive. They're not mocking you. They're protecting themselves. Because the truth is, it's not you they hate. It's the reminder of the journey they're too weak to take. Here's the dirty little secret about society. Most of our interactions aren't about kindness or connection or community. They're about control. Think about the last time someone invited you somewhere. Come on, everyone will be there. Don't miss out. Don't be the odd one out. Sounds innocent, doesn't it? But peel back the smile, and what you see is a leash, a quiet form of blackmail, guilt dressed up as generosity, because most people aren't inviting you for you. They're inviting you to confirm them, to prove that their way of living, this endless loop of noise and distraction, is the right way. But what happens when you don't play along? What happens when you say no and you're still fine, even better off, without them? The whole game starts to collapse. Jung called this process individuation, the integration of the self, becoming whole on your own terms. Do you see what that means? It means your identity no longer depends on their approval, their applause, their permission. And a man who doesn't need permission is a man they can't control. You've felt this, haven't you? That moment you realized you didn't care whether they invited you. That night you stayed home, not out of weakness, but out of choice. And it felt good. That was the moment the chains slipped. And that's when the hatred really begins. Not because you hurt anyone, but because you proved, silently, that their tricks don't work on you anymore. And once one man breaks free, the others start to wonder if maybe they could too. That, my friend, is what terrifies them. Silence. Funny thing, isn't it? People treat it like it's empty, like it's nothing. But silence isn't empty. It's full of the one thing people are most desperate to avoid: themselves. Turn off the chatter, kill the background noise, stop the endless scrolling, and suddenly you're left with the raw, unfiltered voice inside your own head. And for most people, that voice is unbearable. That's why they need the noise. That's why they smother every moment with music, gossip, notifications, chatter, anything to drown out the echo of their own mind. But then you walk in, calm, quiet, unbothered. You've learned to live in that silence, to breathe it in like oxygen, to find strength in it. And suddenly they start twitching. They start asking, "Why are you so quiet? What are you thinking? Say something." They don't care what you're thinking. They just can't stand that you're comfortable in a place they're terrified of. Jung saw this perfectly. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But instead of facing that understanding, they point the finger at you. They laugh at you. They label you antisocial. They call you cold. But here's the truth. Their problem isn't with you. Their problem is with the reflection you're holding up. Because every time you sit in silence, you remind them how desperate they are to avoid it. Every time you choose solitude, you expose how badly they fear it. Every time you show you don't need the noise, you prove how much they do. And that terrifies them. So instead of fixing themselves, they project their fear onto you. You become the villain, not because of what you are, but because of what you reveal. Society runs on scripts. You know the one. Go to school, get the job, find the partner, buy the house, have the kids, retire, die, and in between, play along, show up to the parties, laugh at the small talk, post the pictures, prove you're normal. That's how the machine keeps running. Predictability, compliance, everyone marching in rhythm. But then there's you, the one who doesn't play the part, the one who doesn't need the stage, the one who listens to something else entirely. Jung called it the self, not the ego that begs for applause, not the mask that bends for approval. The self, the deeper voice inside, the one that knows who you really are and what you actually need. And when you follow that voice, you stop being predictable, you stop being manageable, you stop being useful to the script. Unpredictability terrifies them, because if you won't bend to the group, what else won't you do? If you can be happy outside the system, then maybe the system isn't as necessary as they've been told. That thought, that suspicion, is poison to conformity. You've seen it. The way people react when you make choices that don't fit their neat little expectations. That's selfish. You're antisocial. You think you're better than everyone else. What they mean is, you're breaking the script. And if you can do it, maybe I could too. And if I could, maybe my whole life is a lie. That's the terror you bring into the room. Not because you're loud, not because you're violent, but because you're free. And freedom, real freedom, is the one thing society cannot forgive. Let's talk about relationships. Not the fairy tale version, not the Hollywood script, the real ones. Most relationships run on hidden transactions. I give you attention, you give me validation. I listen to your problems, you make me feel needed. I play along with your drama, you play along with mine. A trade, a bargain, a quiet little contract. People call it connection. But most of the time, it's dependency. Two fragile egos leaning on each other, terrified of standing alone. Now here's where it gets ugly. The man who loves solitude, he doesn't need the contract. He's learned to validate himself. He's his own source of stability. He knows his worth, with or without someone else's stamp of approval. And when people run into that kind of independence, it rattles them, because your calm exposes their chaos. Your self-sufficiency exposes their dependence. Your wholeness exposes the emptiness in their so-called connection. So what do? They get angry. They call you cold, distant, uncaring. They attack you not because you've harmed them, but because you don't need them. And that's the truth they can't stand. Because if you can be whole on your own, then maybe their relationships aren't about love at all. Maybe they're just about fear. Fear of being alone, fear of facing themselves, fear of finding out who they are without the transaction. Jung put it simply, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But most people don't want transformation. They want a crutch. And when you walk in without needing one, you show them how fake their connections really are. Society loves to repeat the same line. Humans are social creatures. Isolation will destroy you. You need others to be happy. Sounds comforting, doesn't it? But it's a lie. Here's the trick. They blur the line between isolation and solitude. Isolation is prison. It's when you're cut off against your will. Solitude, that's freedom. It's when you choose to stand alone. But they don't want you to know that. Because if you ever discover how much power is hiding in solitude, you stop being so easy to control. Think about it. The man who loves solitude isn't starved for connection. He's selective. He doesn't take every invitation. He doesn't play every game. He chooses. And that choice terrifies people. Because if you can be happy by yourself, if you can find peace in your own company, then what does that say about all the draining relationships they cling to? What does it say about all the obligations they fulfill out of fear, not love? Your independence becomes living proof that they've been lying to themselves, that they don't need half the noise they fill their lives with, that maybe, just maybe, they could walk away from it all and be fine. But admitting that would mean facing the truth. Their dependence is a choice, and choices can be changed, and change is terrifying, so they choose the easier path. They label you unhealthy. They call you depressed. They pathologize your solitude so they don't have to question their dependence, because it's easier to brand you broken than to admit you might actually be free. Here's the part people really don't want to hear. Their hatred of you isn't even about you, it's projection, pure shadow. Jung warned us, the human mind hides its unwanted parts, buries its shame, its fear, its secret cravings. And what it can't face inside, it throws onto someone else. That's what happens to the man who loves solitude. You become the canvas for everyone else's hidden demons. They're terrified of loneliness. Suddenly you must be lonely. They hate their own dependence. Suddenly you must be arrogant, cold, superior. They repress their desire for peace. Suddenly you must be broken for enjoying it. It's never about you. It's about the parts of themselves they've disowned. Jung put it perfectly. How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole. But most people refuse to meet their dark side, so they hand it to you. They make you the villain of their inner movie. That way they can keep pretending to be the good one, and this is why their reactions always feel so exaggerated. You say you stayed home, they act like you've committed a crime. You skip a party, they treat it like betrayal. Why? Because you're not just declining an invite. You're rejecting the mask they've built their whole life around. You've become their shadow walking in the flesh, a reminder of everything they've avoided, denied, buried. And people don't thank the mirror, they smash it. So when they laugh at you, when they label you, when they whisper behind your back, understand this. It's not you they're hating, it's themselves. Every authentic man pays a price. For you, that price is rejection, misunderstanding, being cast as the outsider, the misfit, the one who doesn't belong. You've already felt it. The subtle digs, the cold shoulders, the whispers that you're weird, antisocial, too intense. That's the toll society charges when you refuse to play along. But here's what they never tell you. The cost of inauthenticity is far higher. Bend yourself into their mold, and what happens? You gain their approval, sure, but you lose yourself. You get their acceptance, but at the price of your integrity. You get invited in, but at the cost of betraying who you really are. Jung said it best. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And he was right. Terrifying. Because when you choose yourself, you lose the crowd. But what's the alternative? To lose yourself just to keep the crowd? Most people take that deal. They sell their authenticity for scraps of approval. They trade their soul for belonging. They force the mask onto their face until they forget what they even looked like without it. But not you. You paid the external price so you wouldn't have to pay the internal one. You'd rather be misunderstood by them than misunderstood by yourself. You'd rather be rejected by the world than reject your own nature. You'd rather be called dangerous than be harmless to yourself. And that's what separates you. That's what makes them hate you. And deep down, envy you. Because you had the courage to pay the price they were too scared to. And now every time they see you, every time they hear the calm in your voice or watch you sit in silence without needing anyone, they're reminded of what they gave up. And that reminder hurts. So they call you strange. They call you selfish. They call you dangerous. But here's the truth. You are dangerous because you've proven that it's possible to live without their approval. And once people see that possibility, the whole system starts to crack. So where does that leave you? Alone? Maybe. Misunderstood? Absolutely. Hated? Often. But free? Always. That's the secret they don't want whispered out loud. You don't need their permission to exist. You don't need their applause to feel alive. You don't need the crowd to make your soul real. Jung said, the individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. To be your own man is a hard business. And he was right, it is hard, because authenticity doesn't come with cheers. It comes with consequences. But here's the irony, the very thing they hate you for is the thing they secretly wish they had. Your independence, your calm, your ability to stand on your own 2 feet without trembling for approval. You're not a threat because you're violent. You're not dangerous because you reject people. You're dangerous because you've proven something they don't want proven. That a man can be complete, whole, unshakable, entirely by himself. That kind of strength. It spreads. It plants doubts. It forces questions. If you can live this way, then maybe they could too. And if they could, then all the rules, all the scripts, all the masks they've been hiding behind might not be necessary at all. And that possibility, that's nuclear. That's why they laugh. That's why they whisper. That's why they attack. Not because you're weak, but because you're free. So here's the choice. You can shrink yourself, play the clown, wear the mask, and keep them comfortable. Or you can keep walking your path, alone if you must, misunderstood if you must, hated if you must, but real. Because the world has enough performers, enough actors, enough people selling pieces of themselves for scraps of belonging. What it doesn't have is enough of you. The man who would rather be true than liked. The man who would rather be whole than approved of. The man who would rather stand alone than live a lie. That man is rare. That man is feared. That man is necessary. So be him, even if it makes them hate you, especially if it makes them hate you.